A Free National Movement senator resigned from his post, as well as some members of the Save the Base organization. But before we get to those stories and more, this quote from former First Lady of the United States, Eleanor Roosevelt, which states, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." You're watching Weekend Review. I'm your host, Shimonita Swing. Free National Movement Chairman Senator Michael Pintard resigned as party chairman last Monday and submitted a letter to the Senate advising the same. Those developments come as investigations are underway into an alleged scheme by a major environmental organization, which some shocking revelations were made. Clint Watson tells us that Pintard says his resignation is no admission of guilt, and he explains why he took the steps that he did.
No time did me in my capacity as a professional working with calendars and co, or as chairman of the Free National Movement, engage in any unethical or illegal activities in order to fabricate or get anyone else to fabricate information about Mr. Nygaard, about any member of the government, or any citizen for that matter.
Now, even though Pintard has resigned the post, he still has the full support of his party following his stance. Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis says despite Pintard's voluntary resignation, he maintains it's not an admission of guilt on his part, but sees it as a demonstration of political maturity. Minnis invited Deputy Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis, whose name has also been linked to the controversy, to follow Pintard's lead.
The Free National Movement supports Michael Pintard's decision to defend himself against the political attacks being leveled against him. As Mr. Pintard has done the proper thing in tendering his resignation, we likewise call for the Deputy Prime Minister to tender his resignation based on the affidavits that raise questions about his participation in the same matter involving Mr. Pintard.
Despite previously calling for Pintard's resignation, Progressive Liberal Party Chairman Bradley Roberts says the party takes no joy in this latest developments in the Nygaard Save the Base saga. He also dismissed Minnis's call for Davis's resignation, stating that both Nygaard and Louis Bacon have said neither Davis or the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, were involved. While Pintard says he's not guilty of any wrongdoing, Roberts says the public is intelligent enough to draw its own conclusions and questioned why the FNM chairman would resign if he did nothing wrong. Roberts says he lays the blame of Pintard's political demise squarely at the feet of Dr. Minnis.
He has a duty to properly mentor, steer, direct, and advise young politicians in his caucus and under his charge as to the honor and integrity required in public office. Once again, Dr. Minnis' leadership was weighted in the balance and found woefully wanting. Rather than be the solid and exemplary leader of his colleagues, Dr. Minnis failed miserably in the dispatch of his duty, and as a result, Mr. Pintard has become a casualty of an avoidable situation.
But the story does not stop there. Opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis confirmed in Parliament last Wednesday that he met with one of the would-be murder-for-hire accused, alleging that he was informed of a plot to set up his now former chairman and Senator Michael Pintard.
Let the record reflect that I've only met one bullet.
Yes.
I've only met one bullet.
Yes.
But, Mr. Speaker, I want the Bahamian people to appreciate that if somebody says to you, to me, that your chairman is going to a meeting. Your chairman will be set up.
Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, took grave exception to the admission by the FNM, reminding him that his life was reportedly also threatened. He said that Minnis should have done the proper thing and report the matter to the police.
When you were faced with your chairman being threatened to be set up, you ought to have called the police.
Yes.
When I was faced with the realization that these allegations were made, I called the Minister of National Security and said to him, I would wish the police to be involved. My immediate response was, let the police investigate. You allowed your chairman to go and be set up. I have no idea, none whatsoever about this matter. But the one thing I know, and I hope, that the police will fully investigate it. So even as we sit and debate this here, what you did in your home, I presume, you will be able to explain to the police. If the police apprehend these people who've been in your home, I presume they will say. If they say what you say, then that's it. The point of the matter is, I have no knowledge. I'm only saying to you, why did you allow your man to walk into that, what you say was the trap?
Queries over the credibility of the Save the Bays organization have prompted the resignation of one of its members and emotional responses from others. Public Relations Executive Diane Phillips has resigned as director of the organization. She cited, quote, professional reasons not related to politics of any sort for her decision. She further explained that in a business of public relations, it is critical to have respect for and be respected by decision makers. Their work, she went on to say, impacts life, and especially so in a highly centralized government system as in the Bahamas. Phillips says for 30 years, she hasn't been tied to any political party. She says she'll continue to represent Save the Bays and support its awareness campaigns. Meantime, another member of the Save the Bays organization, Joe Darville, says he's loath to have to defend his character, though he finds it necessary to do so now. He said he's done nothing to cast any disgrace upon the country and has nothing to hide, but suggested that his private calls and emails are being hacked into. Meantime, the midterm budget passed Wednesday night in the House of Assembly, with the Prime Minister highlighting a number of plans to spur the economy. From the Bahama project to Family Island developments, the Prime Minister said government is working to ensure job creation. Prime Minister Perry Christie updated Parliament Wednesday on the plans to restart the construction of the stalled Bahama project. As he wrapped up the budget debate, Mr. Christie told Parliament that he's optimistic that ongoing negotiations toward that end are productive.
On one hand, a major effort is being made by the construction company and the bank to agree on a formula for the construction company to restart and to finish, pending their determination of who will be the person or the company getting it. My sense is that they are well on their way in that regard. And so I anticipate, when I take worst case scenarios, I anticipate, right, that is a process that will take place this year, right, and that completion will be this year.
Mr. Christie said getting the issues resolved has been an agonizing effort on his part, but he also made it clear that he wanted contractors to get what's due to them.
I have taken position that I want the Bahamian contractors to be paid. Let me just say this for the construction company. The construction company has said they will only come onto the site on the condition that they pay in full the Bahamian contractor. Okay.
As for the International Monetary Fund's most recent report, the Prime Minister said it's predicting growth of 1.5% for the economy. He also outlined other projects in the pipeline which would mean job creation in the Family Islands. He noted that there was some strong support from the IMF for his administration's fiscal planning related to the value-added tax structure.
Continued fiscal consolidation is critical for rebuilding fiscal and external policy buffers and boosting investor confidence. Policy priorities include: 1. Resolute implementation of the current VAT regime with few exemptions. The authorities should resist pressures to weaken the VAT regime's efficiency through the introduction of exemptions.
Over the next few months, Mr. Christie said his government will be very busy with new and ongoing projects.
Bimini today is completing the final 80 rooms and the connection between the casino and the hotel, and looking for another 100 jobs immediately. right? They're having a job fair this week. So Bimini has now, will be up to, 800, 900 jobs and counting. Bakers Bay came to us and said they build 30 homes a year. They could build 60 if we liberalize the work permit regime. What then happened is we said, okay, let's see how we could do this. They have around 1,300 employees now, okay? And it's a recession-proof development. The top people from Wall Street, the top people in movie stars, top people are there. And so what has happened now, they have been joined by Winding Bay, which was owned by Marriott and Ritz-Carlton. And the Winding Bay people are now dusting themselves off, getting all restructured and whatnot. They have some implications with the marina that they want in terms of Save the Bay and all that sort of stuff going on. But it's a development where they're saying they will be able to have 1,500 jobs, and they will be able to have $200 million worth of construction over the next 3 or 4 years.
One Week in Review continues. A terrorist linked to the Bahamas. The details ahead. Welcome back. The Bahamas was in the spotlight following the deadly terrorist attacks in Brussels, Belgium last week. Interpol issued a red notice for a suspect, Khalid El-Barou, who was reported by foreign authorities as having Bahamian and Belgian nationalities. The alleged subway bomber is one of 2 brothers believed to be responsible for killing more than 30 and injuring nearly 300 in attacks on an airport and subway station in Brussels. And as reports went viral that the 27-year-old suspect had ties here, Clint Watson reports that officials wasted no time in addressing that issue and calling those claims false.
Commissioner of Police Alison Greenslade said Wednesday there is no information whatsoever to confirm that suspected terrorist in the Belgium attacks, Khalid El-Bakraoui, is Bahamian. Interpol, the international police link agency, lists the suspect with the nationality Belgium, Bahamas. The commissioner says, quote, wrong protocol, absolute nonsense, end quote. National Security Minister, the Honourable Dr. Bernard Nottage, addressed the issue in Parliament Wednesday.
The matter is being pursued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as well as the Royal Bahamas Police Force. And it has been indicated to me that as far as the force is concerned, there's no evidence that has been discovered to suggest that he is Bahamian.
Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister, the Honourable Fred Mitchell, told our news team that they're trying to find out what basis the assertion was made.
So checks are being done with the Belgians to find out the basis upon which they make the assertion that the person is Bahamian. The minister did indicate that the Bahamian nationality is not confirmed, so it's something that we are checking. We checked, we're asking immigration to check to see whether or not there's a naturalization file. We've asked the passport office to check to see whether the individual has a passport. And we're checking with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to find out from the Belgians themselves what is the basis upon which they are saying that he does in fact have a Bahamian nationality.
These implications do present security concerns, though, especially for the Bahamas. And Minister Mitchell says it's something they're also addressing.
We've certainly been in touch with the Americans, who obviously would be very concerned about this. Given that, they're the country that people are really trying to get at. Their citizens are here. So we're just being watchful, careful. This country has nothing to do with that business. And we try to maintain, and we think we do have a safe and secure destination for people to come to.
The Belgium terrorist attacks came extremely close to impacting a Bahamian diplomat. Minister Mitchell revealed to our news team that Ambassador to Switzerland, Her Excellency Rhoda Jackson, who was in Brussels and traveling back to Geneva, missed the bombing by a split-second decision to choose one flight time over another. Had she taken the other option, she would have been in the very same terminal around the same time of the bombing.
She was in Belgium a couple of hours, just left a couple of hours before the bombing, and so wasn't affected by it. But insofar as we know, there are no Bahamians who've been affected by it.
The Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister has advised Bahamian travelers, particularly to Europe, to exercise vigilance. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
During debate last week, National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage outlined what he deemed the key thematic reasons for crime as illegal drugs, illegal guns, and at-risk youth. He explained that the drug trade has led to increased levels of violence from petty theft to murder. He also provided statistics for the first 3 months of the year.
But murders are down 23%, Attempted murder is down 50%. Rape is down 38%. Unlawful sexual intercourse down 16%. Robberies down 22%. That's year to date. That's almost 3 months. It is some progress.
Yes, it is.
And I hate to talk about progress in periods like that, because as soon as you do that, a whole lot of other things happen.
Dr. Nottage also provided additional statistics of guns taken off the street and the number of teens in prison.
During 2015, a total of 359 firearms and 5,200 rounds of ammunition was seized by the police. And thus far this year, they have already seized over 100 guns and 2,000 rounds of ammunition. At this time, Mr. Speaker, we have in prison over 100 young persons between the ages of 17 and 20. All, save for 2, are male.
Still talking court news, police have wasted no time in charging 2 men in connection with that major drug bust last week. Fern Carey was in court for the arraignment.
A magistrate has sentenced 29-year-old Jerome McPhee to 3 years behind bars after he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to possess some 521 pounds of marijuana. Magistrate Andrew Forbes also gave McPhee another 3 years in prison after he pleaded guilty to possession of dangerous drugs with intent to supply. The sentences will run concurrently, which means that McPhee will serve both at the same time. Before sentence was passed, McPhee's attorney, Jomo Campbell, informed the court that McPhee has no prior convictions or pending matters and was employed as a mechanic. He explained that McPhee fell on hard times and decided to sell the drugs to make some quick money. The drugs have an estimated street value of $521,000. Campbell also noted that McPhee was extremely remorseful and can be rehabilitated. He also indicated that McPhee will soon be a new father and suggested that the 29-year-old not be given a custodial sentence. However, Magistrate Andrew Forbes noted that the amount of drugs was substantial. At the same time, he took into consideration the fact that McPhee has no previous convictions or pending matters, is still relatively young, and pleaded guilty at the earliest opportunity. Now, McPhee's co-accused, Ryan Butler, denied any involvement in the matter. Bail was denied and he was remanded in custody. He returns to court on May 18th for trial. Fern Carey, ZNS Network.
1 Week in Review continues the business of buns and fish on Good Friday. The details ahead. Welcome back. It's down to 4, and Bahamian collegiate basketball player Buddy Hield is among the quartet in the running for the Naismith Award. The list that once contained 50 candidates was trimmed down to 30, then 10, and now 4. Hield, who is referred to as one of the best this year, has showed consistent progress and is very efficient from the field. The native of Freeport, Grand Bahama, is the starting guard for the Oklahoma Schooners and leads the nation in three-pointers. He finished second in scoring and is the 6th player in the last 20 years and first from a major conference to average 25 points and 5 rebounds per game. The winner of the award will be announced in the first week of April. Crispy brown fried fish and hot cross buns were the order of the day last Good Friday. Hundreds of Bahamians flocked to various bakeries and seafood spots to purchase the high-demand items. Harladon Davis took to the streets and visited a bakery to find out about sales and got a first-hand look at how fishermen at the local seafood spot prepared for their customers.
They are hot and sweet buns marked with a cross on top that are just right and traditionally eaten on Good Friday. The 3S Bakery off Wolf Road is quite busy just hours before Good Friday, whipping up the sweet symbols of the season. On Thursday, a large number of customers crammed the parking lot while those inside were hoping to not be shared out. Assistant Manager Dwayne Strawn says the Easter season is very busy at the popular bakery.
We started actually making hot cross buns since Monday. And the preparations, the ingredients, you have your flour, all of your spices and sugars and everything else. And it takes about 2.5 hours per batch. So you have to time yourself. And we've actually been making buns on a steady flow since, I would say, since Wednesday at about 11 o'clock. And our cutoff point was probably about 12 o'clock today. And actually, we're still baking off at this moment.
This year, we stopped by Cartwright Seafood on Wellington and West Street to see just how they're preparing their fish before they are sold to customers who avoided extremely long lines at the Potter's Key Dock. Employee Oscar Rose says fish sales this year are up.
It has been getting better and better. The best place you can find fish is right here at Cartwright Seafood, any day of the week.
What kind of fish do you have for Good Friday?
Well, we have everything. Snappers, groupers, jack hog fish, barracuda, maggot fish, you name it, we have it.
It takes roughly 30 to 45 minutes to get these lane snappers ready just in time for that Good Friday meal.
We get the kid, put it on the table, break it down, put it in the bucket, take it to the zinc over there, put it in the water. When it's soft enough, we put it on the table over here. We clean them, clip them up, cut them open, and gut them. After that, we wash them over, put it back on the table, then bring it here, bag them.
Frequent customer Wendy Cash is expecting scrumptious toasted brown fish this Good Friday.
It's very encouraging to find an establishment that always have fresh fish, and that the fact that it's already cleaned and ready to just season is a good feeling.
We also got a chance to canvass the Potter's Key Dock, and as usual, the profitable business was booming for fishermen there. While many of them were too busy to comment on camera, they did say that business for them is pretty good again this year. But in the end, most businesses would agree that come Good Friday, they will be sold out of their stocks as they strive to keep customers happy. LaDawn Davis, ZNS Network News.
Before we call it a wrap this week, we leave you with this quote from novelist Lydia Child, who states, "The cure for all ills and wrongs, the cares, the sorrows, and the crimes of humanity all lie in one word, love. It is the divine vitality that everywhere produces and restores life." Those were the stories that made headlines this past week. If you see news in the making, please call the ZNS Newsroom at 502-3835 or email us at news@znsbahamas.com. On behalf of the entire newsroom staff and all who make this program possible, I'm Jiminita Swain. Make it a great day.